Welcome back to the Har-Ber Vox. This episode marks the start of the second season of this podcast, and we have a whole new cast member. But we're very excited to start it up again, and we're going to be starting posting on YouTube with all new animations and content, so be sure you check that out. I would like to introduce some of our new members.
Jack Baldwin.
Gerson Melton.
Reed Slagle.
Tell us something interesting about one of you.
I'm a sports fanatic.
Big Michigan fan, but I love Arkansas.
I'm a big Nebraska fan, but I love all sports.
Today we're going to start talking about the Arkansas football season that's starting soon. You three know more about it than I do.
Well, yeah, we just had a really big game. You know, people will say it's just an exhibition game, but it marks the start of a very long season.
Redemption season.
Exactly.
What do you mean by redemption season?
They finished in the Final Four last year in March Madness.
This is the Elite Eight.
Elite Eight. They lost to Baylor by...
It was like
Really
8
pretty close.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Closest out of anyone in the tournament, I think.
Yeah.
We had we had the lead at one point, I think.
Yeah. High expectations for this year.
Got a bunch of new players, lost our best player, trying to learn our plays, but it's still a little scary as an Arkansas fan to win by 3 against East Central.
So what are some things that are going on with basketball right now? As you said, they had a game.
Yeah, so that game with East Central, just to clarify what Jack was saying, 77-74. Really tight game. We were down at halftime, 37-35. That's the big news in Arkansas basketball right now, reflecting on that game.
How'd the game start off?
The beginning was actually really slow, because I went ahead and watched it. I was at Bud Walton Arena, and just really slow start. Both teams missing field goals, but everybody walks into that game thinking East Central, nobody, we're going to absolutely slaughter them. And then it just gets really concerning when we start missing shots, when they start going up in the beginning, and it's just not like it was last year.
Their team highs, Devontae Davis with 20 points, not anything super impressive. Highest assist count was 3 from Devontae Davis, too. It wasn't a lot. We shot the same percentage as East Central.
I heard we really struggled shooting 3. I personally didn't really get to watch it. I read up about it and heard we just
13%.
2 for 20 from the 3 line or something like that.
13, yeah.
It was
We went,
rough.
2 for 16.
I actually saw Musselman the next practice. They were practicing with bricks in their hands and in a weighted vest.
In his interview, he said he was shocked by the first 6 minutes how tired and exhausted the whole team was.
You could tell throughout the game, he shot 29 free throws, almost 3 times the other team. And it's pretty clear that we weren't hitting those. We lacked a lot of conditioning. The team was just really struggling through the entirety of the game to keep up with a very underwhelming team that ended up performing better than us.
We had 10 turnovers and 9 assists. It really doesn't mean anything whenever you have more turnovers than assists.
How was the motivation of the basketball team whenever they started the game? Did they seem motivated to win?
I'm sure physically Gerson would see their expressions to how they felt.
I think the issue is whenever you have such high expectations, like 247 Sports pre-ranking you as 14th team in the nation going into the season, you just get a lot of guys that get a big ego, and then they walk in and they're shocked whenever they realize that you have to fight for every game you play. When you play East Central, it could be some team in a town with a population of 300. It's just going to be as hard as somebody else because every team wants to win. Say, for instance, when we played a big team like Gonzaga or UNLV, when we weren't as good, we were the little team that wanted to beat that giant team. And that's how, now that we're that big dog, that everybody else that we play is going to have that same mindset. They want to beat this highly ranked team. They want to take on Arkansas. They want to beat us. I think that's the fatal flaw that happened with some of the players is they walked in thinking that this was going to be a cakewalk, and a lot of the new guys that transferred and some of the new freshmen didn't really understand that you have to fight for every single game.
Back when we had Mike Anderson, we were a run-of-the-mill team, and I wouldn't say we were the little team looking up. We won a few conference games here and there, but definitely since Musselman stepped in, we got to work on not playing down to our opponents. I remember we did that last year a few times. We had Moody, who was good enough as a standout player to help us win some of those games. But there were a few games we should have lost because we played down to our opponents. And I looked at our schedule, and we do play some non-conference teams that weren't the best, and we got to work on not playing down to those people. That's the way I see it.
When's the next game?
We just scheduled it recently. It's a charity game against North Texas, and they're a pretty established team. You could And people that don't really know anything about it might think North Texas, they're not UT, they're not Texas Tech. They beat Purdue last year in the tournament. They made it to the second round, something we haven't done since last year. Certainly didn't do it under Mike Anderson. It's a big step up from East Central, and the fact that we didn't win by much against East Central, that's concerning.
Are you three at all worried about North Texas?
I'm not. It was a little worried about East Central, but I've had some time to reflect on it. I think Musselman, we saw it last year, is we play a bad game, he responds. So I think that practice ain't going to be easy for him. And I trust Musselman, and I think he'll have us ready.
Well, for me, I just look back to last year. In the SEC tournament, we were one of the favorites to win, and we played terribly, and it was humbling going into the big tournament. We'd come out making the Elite Eight. That's the same thing that I see that's going to happen with this. We play East Central, we get a bit of sense of humility, and they realize that we got to have that drive. We got to fight for it. I'm not worried at all. I think Musselman, he's a very capable coach, and I think he really inspires that to his players and gets them ready to punch back even harder.
I would probably say the same thing as Jack and Gerson too. Musselman is a one-of-a-kind coach. As we see on social media and everything, he's getting them ready. I think two big players to watch out for are J.D. Note and Devontae Davis. For the type of players that they are, their athleticism, and I think they want to come out and win.
What are the players looking like this year? Are they better than they were last year? Are they worse? Are they on par? What are they like compared to previous?
Personally, I would say that we don't have necessarily a standout player like we did last year in Moses Moody, but I think we overall have better. I think we got depth coming off the bench, and if we play smart, I think we have a chance to be really good.
I think this team has a lot higher of a ceiling than last year. A lot of these guys, I mean, they're new and they've got lots of potential. You look at guys like Chance Moore, a 4-star freshman, great talent, except the thing about potential is you haven't done it yet. And that's what these guys have to focus on. They have to show up and they have to perform well, because we have a really deep roster. We even have great leaders like J.D. Note, Devontae Davis, Jalen Williams, all coming back for a second season, and those guys got to step up. We've got a really deep team, just like Jack said, so the biggest thing is filling in the gaps and figuring out our starting lineup, figuring out our rotation, just some of the things that'll come with progression of the season.
I think one big thing is finding two spots in the point guard position and small forward position. Even Aaron Musselman said that he's looking for people in that 1 and 4 spot, someone that he can be confident with, taking the ball up the court, and someone who is capable of finishing.
I do think we might be a little smaller this year, height-wise, as we were last year. Now, I did notice that height doesn't mean everything. I mean, Chris Lights, what is he, like 5'7"?
5'7", yeah.
Dropped 13 points last week.
Yeah.
And so, but height does play a little bit of an advantage in basketball, and I think we might be a little smaller this year, but we got some athletes.
So Reed keeps mentioning Musselman. So what was that interview really about? Was it just a response to the exhibition game?
It was all about pretty much how he felt about the turnout of the game, because no one was really expecting a game that close. Pretty much throughout the whole interview, he just shares what he personally feels like they could do better, the things that they have lost compared to last year. Simple stuff like that he thinks they could get better at.
And it's kind of obvious that you three like Musselman more than the previous coach. Is it just because he's a better coach?
I think that Mike Anderson, he's done it. He's done it more than I have, so I'm not one to critique. I haven't done it, but we were average every year. And I think that Hunter Yurachek, is the athletic director, took a step, and he's done a fantastic job, and we got Musselman. And I personally like him better. I like the way he treats the players. I feel like we're going back to some old school physical basketball, and I personally like that more.
Mike Anderson at Arkansas says he was 169 and 102, so 169 wins and 102 losses, which is not that good. It's a little over 50%.
I think the big thing that kept him there was, like you mentioned, bigger win ratio to lose ratio. He's one of the only 4 coaches in the nation that has that. And that's like something that people think is like a big feat, except the issue is that he just scheduled really weak opponents in the non-conference games. That was one of the biggest issues, and that's what I like about Musselman. He's an ambitious coach. He has that drive. He's not willing to lose some games. He's willing to make his team ready for the tournament. We're playing some big teams like Illinois, Kansas State right out the gate, and that's what it takes to win. It's a lot better to have those losses that teach us a lot than go 14-0 because we played a bunch of nobodies.
I'm looking at Calipari, who's the coach Kentucky, and he's like 339 and 93 at Kentucky, and he's been coaching for 12 seasons. He doesn't even have 100 losses, and he's won 3 times the amount of games as Mike Anderson, and Mike Anderson's already at over 100 losses. If we want to be a good program too, we got to win.
I think I'm also really impressed with Musselman's ability at recruiting. And people get that whenever people talk about recruiting, they think that, our coach has to pull all these guys from other states, but all of our best recruits are from Arkansas. Moses Moody from Arkansas, Chance Moore from Arkansas. These next 2 5-stars that we've got next year, Jordan Walsh and Nick Smith, both from Arkansas. That was one of the other flaws of Mike Anderson. You just couldn't recruit that talent. That's what's so great about Musselman is he's really engaging with some of these younger players.
Next year, our national rank for recruiting is number 2, first in the SEC. This year, it's a little weak as we're standing at 84th and 14th in the SEC, but we only have 1 player that's signed a letter of intent, and we have 4 transfers. Not that big of recruiting this year.
How did last season go? How do we want this season to go?
For me, I didn't watch a lot of Arkansas basketball, but from what I saw watching March Madness, they played really hard. I'm not sure that a lot of people could probably say that about this previous game. I don't know if that's going to change over the course of this season, but last year, if they were able to just have a percentage of the intensity they brought into the tournament, they could be a really good team.
I mean, there's one thing that kind of concerns me this year, just because it happened a lot last year. Because last year, phenomenal year. We made the Elite Eight, something we haven't done in 20 years.
Yeah, since like 1995.
Exactly, a long time. But the issue was that during the season, we'd have games against Kentucky, against Tennessee, where we'd get up and then just play hero ball. We'd just tailgate the team the whole game, and we'd lose the lead. Like, I remember against Tennessee, we were up by like 16, and then we just let them take that lead. And that was kind of what happened with East Central. We started out okay, and we just chased after them and played down to their level. And that's the big concern that I'm seeing from last year to this year. But then I'm also reminded that we made the freaking Elite Eight in Baylor, so really excited.
I mean, I definitely, last year, as a diehard Arkansas fan, I wasn't expecting them in typical Arkansas fashion to be as good as they were last year. Going into this year, I'm more excited because I've been able to see what Musselman can do, and I didn't expect Musselman in his first season last year to take us to the Elite Eight. It's not something most people can do, so I'm thrilled with last season, and I'm excited for this one.
So I'm hearing high hopes all around, pretty much.
Yeah.
Especially for Musselman.
Yes.
You, all of you seem to think he's an extremely just good coach.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Nevada, the last place he coached, he was fantastic there. They were usually a 4 seed, a 6 seed in the tournament. And they were a well-established team. And just when you get any person from that program or a program like that consistently does well in the tournament, you're going to see big results.
Do y'all have any bold predictions for this year?
I think we have a chance to beat Kentucky again. I don't really know if that's a bold prediction or not, but I think we have a chance. I think we'll make the Sweet 16. I don't know about the Elite Eight. It all just kind of depends on who you get matched up with. It's a little early, but I think next season we could be looking at a deep dance in the tournament.
I thought you were going to say national championship, but that's what I'm thinking. But no, this year I agree with what Jack said. I don't think we're going to make something. I mean, it's hard to top last year, being a top 8 team in the nation by the end of the season, but I definitely think this year we're going to surprise some teams in the SEC, and I think we're going to win the SEC. I think Kentucky, they're going to be a well-developed team this year, but they're going to have a lot of trouble coming to Bud Walton, especially with the crowd that's, sold out season tickets.
What do you guys think, what's your projection for the record that they're going to come out with this year?
Dude, how many games we play?
32? It's usually around there.
I think we'll probably win 25 games. 25-8, maybe upwards of 27 wins. There's some hard games. We got to play Florida on the road. That's never easy. Tennessee on the road. That's not easy at all. We do play some other tough teams. We got Illinois. West Virginia's not a blow-off team. We play Oklahoma on the road. That's not easy.
Well, Kentucky's always a no-brainer. Great team.
The scary thing about Kentucky is last year they had a down year, but you got to remember they got 4 and they probably got 7 dudes on that team that are 5-star. They have one bad game or a bad season, but they can play the best game you've ever seen in the snap of a finger. They got athletes, and they always will be.
Kentucky used to be an overwhelming team that usually won easily every game. They're not the program that they used to be. I mean, we're a well-established program. Alabama's a well-established program. Last year, 25-7. Alabama beat us in the overall 26-7. Like, every single game is tough, whether it's on the road, whether it's at home. Everybody wants to win. So I don't necessarily think our record's going to be great. I figure we'll win 20 games, and it'll get a lot of these younger guys ready for next season.
Only 20?
Based on last year, 25-7, somewhere in between 25 and 20.
I believe we are out of time for this episode. So well done to our new cast members. Thank you for tuning in to the Har-Ber Vox. Next episode, we'll have more cast members, and we will also have a new topic to discuss. So make sure you tune into that. Remember, we'll be posting on the YouTube channel, and hopefully we'll have a lot more interesting things to say. See you next time.